Hello everyone, so welcome to our Drive Home webinar on a Wednesday afternoon from the RoB Academy. It's Glenis Gassmann from More Customers, More Profits, and I want to welcome you to a very big, happy Wednesday. We've had a great day today in at the Thrive Network, and we're still there. Some of us are still there. I want to welcome Phil East. Phil, you look like you're in San Francisco, actually.
Yes, just international tonight, Glenis.
Very good. And we've got Zeno. Zeno, hello and welcome. And you're going to be one of our guest panelists tonight, how to increase the value of your home by 20%. That's a huge number.
Hello. Indeed, yes. It is. And we can all do it.
And we can all do it. I love it.
Yep.
And just before we get in there, we've got Chris driving back to Ballarat as well. So hi, Chris. Great to see you on board tonight. And I just want to have a chat with you all about why are we doing this? Well, look, we're all part of the Referrals Over Breakfast network, and there's a lot of skill set in there. We want to share that with the world. We want to share because we know business is a huge mammoth task, right? And there's lots of different aspects of every business. And tonight, Zeno is going to talk to us about, you know, what we can do with all the money that we're making from business and how we can invest it and even make more money, which I'm very looking forward to hearing about that tonight. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. And of course, if you don't know me, Glenis Gassmann, More Customers, More Profits. I work with business owners and I double your profits and I help you grow your business to whatever level you want to go to. So, and we're talking in the drive home tonight, and I want to welcome Phil because Phil also, Phil's a resident business coach. He works alongside me helping businesses and families out around the Gippsland area. But obviously from your tonight's back picture, you are not absolutely just in Gippsland. You can do international, yes?
That's right, Glenis. San Francisco, not quite as good as Gippsland, but happy to be here nonetheless today.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
A little bit of Zoom technology.
That's awesome, isn't it? And thanks for being here. So, Zeno,
yes.
Welcome for being a panelist tonight, and welcome to all the attendees tonight. I know we've got a few of you regulars that are on board. Thanks for sharing your Wednesday night drive home with us. And if you've got any questions for Zeno already, you want to put them in the Q&A box there, and we're going to take questions throughout the night. We go till 6 o'clock. And but Zeno, look, first of all, why don't you let us know your passion? What's your passion around real estate? And I know that you've been in real estate for a long time, and now you get to show us how to increase your value of your home by 20%. But why don't you just tell us a little bit more about you and your business?
Oh, thanks, and welcome everyone, and it's great to be here on this webinar. Look, I've been in real estate for a long time. I used to buy, renovate and flip homes on my weekends, and just got the bug of just enjoying the whole process of turning something that's nice into something that's a lot better, and making a bit of money along the way. Through that, I've learnt a few key things that we can apply. And I know this is a little bit different than what we talk about in business, but there are some learnings that I find that in business and in real estate that we can apply. It comes down to 4 key items that I find that really help move something for a better price. And ultimately, when we walk away with a better price, we can invest that in other areas, in other businesses, other real estate and so forth.
That's excellent. And so, you know, like you obviously have a passion for real estate, and you know what you're looking for. And, you know, but tell us a few little secrets about, you know, how can you take the value of a home up by 20%? Because there's a lot of people that lose money on real estate. I know I've heard some horror stories, and I'm sure you can tell us some horror stories about that. But how do you get to pick a property? Is there certain things that you need to look for so that you can make 20%?
Look, you know what, that's a whole webinar in itself in choosing and picking a property. We could be here all night.
And we've only got 45 minutes.
We've only got a little while. But for those that are in the game, are in real estate already, and for whatever reason they need to move a piece of real estate on, look, there's 4 key things that I've found that really make a big difference in this space. and it's 4 P's. It's position, presentation, process, and person. I can go into each of those in more detail.
That would be great.
Look, position is the first one, and that's when you buy. So ultimately, you want to buy well. You want to buy a piece of real estate that is likely to increase in value. But having said that, you know, where people live in homes, not in pieces of real estate. And so if your intention is to enjoy the home that you're living in, you know, it's close to a school, it's, you know, perfect for the kids, or the grandparents are nearby, you may not necessarily be in this space to be making money, because it's about your life. You know, you're living it and enjoying it. But there comes times that perhaps you need to move it on. Circumstances change. So in an ideal world, everything would go up in value, but there are a few key little items that I find that make that difference if you had to move it on and had to sell it. Position, once you've bought, that's locked in. There's no more change we can do to the position. We can't actually pick up the home and take it somewhere else in there. It's growing in value. So let's assume that we haven't bought a property that's opposite an oil refinery, for example. It's in a nice suburb in the burbs, or somewhere in Melbourne or Sydney or wherever you happen to be. So putting position aside, the next key item is the presentation. So with presentation, that involves like its condition, the age, the way it looks. Look, this is where a keen eye and experienced eye can really help in putting a home, when you're putting a home to market, in making it look as great as it can to attract the greatest buyer pool. So presentation, I mean, we could spend, you know, you could spend tons of money and dough and so forth on you know, putting in a $20,000 Carrera marble kitchen island. But is that appropriate for that particular home? Would a $3,000 reconstituted stone be sufficient? So this is where a little bit of research and talking to someone who's done this before can really help. So presentation can make a huge impact, and it is really unique to each home. And so you need to actually sit down, find out what it is that moves best in that home, in that area, and then apply those principles to your home.
Can I just ask a question there, Zeno? A couple of things, like just one thing that's come up for me, and I know there's a question in Q&A, but one for me is, I've heard about staging homes, and that's, you talk about presentation and that. Is that worth it? Does that really sell your home more by paying out for staging, or can you do it yourself?
Look, you know what, going back 15, 20 years or more ago, staging was unheard of. It's really ballooned in recent times with things like the Block TV show, all those reno shows, all these people, you know, painting their walls and doing a feature wall, getting some great tiles in the background. They actually, all these things actually do help. They help attract a buyer to a home because it's something, a wow factor. And if you stage it really well, then you may actually attract more than you thought in terms of the buyers. And before you know it, you've got a competing war going on. It's funny how perception really makes a huge difference in this space, and a lot of people don't seem to have that imagination. They see 4 white walls, but if one of the walls was a certain color and a certain table and style was here, and someone walks into the room, they just fall in love with what they see at eye level, not necessarily the walls. And before you know it, they get emotionally attached to the home, and they're paying more than they should for it. And that all comes down to how it's been presented and staged. So look, it can make a huge difference.
I have one question for that. Is there certain types of people that would be attracted to certain things in a home? Like, I'll give you an example. Like, we were just talking here today, we had a work day for the mastermind group that I run today, and we were talking all about the different types of people that buy from you, and you can sort of pick you can pick the types of people that, and what they're thinking in their mind before they actually think it. So as a business owner, we have to be very aware of who we're talking to and what type of questions we have to ask, right? you know, I'm just curious, and I don't know if this is, you know, in fact reality, but I'm curious, you know, is there certain colours or is there certain things that you have at eye level that would attract a certain type of people to a person that wants to buy the home?
Look, I don't know if we can specifically target individual people, but what I do know is we can, when selling in this sort of scenario, your ideal scenario is to attract as many people as you can. And so the whole idea behind it is to get a broader pool of people involved, not just one specific type.
Yeah.
It's about getting a broader pool involved, because then what I know is that the more people that I've had through a home and the more people I'm having conversations with, the more likely I'm going to be getting offers on the table. And before you know it, you can have competing offers. So it's about knowing how to target the most amount of people, not just not specific. Unless you're selling something that's so unique that there's very few of. Maybe it's a penthouse apartment on a beach that there's no others, and it's worth, you know, X amount of dollars, and there's only a certain kind of person that will be attracted to that. Perhaps then you have to consider, how do I attract that specific person?
Yeah.
In most cases, it's all about attracting a broader pool, the largest pool you can, to bring them to the home. And then, and then having that volume of bodies build up pressure and ultimately a better price for the homeowner.
Yeah, good. And I have a question from Joan. Joan's always on our, thank you, Joan, for sending in a question, and welcome, and thanks for being here with us today. She's got a question to you from Zeno, saying, is the inside or the outside more important than one or the other as far as the presentation?
Look, that's a great question. If we're selling a home in a family-friendly neighbourhood, more often than not, the inside is going to be the impact, because that's where the kids are going to be, the family's going to be growing up and so forth. The insides have to work really well.
Yeah.
If it's more of the type of a luxury style home, or something where perhaps the buyer pool is going to be more about the presentation, and the type of buyer would be like the type that likes to show off a home, then the facade really is important, and making it look as amazing as possible. But generally what I find though is when I'm putting a home to market, I'm trying to attract the broadest pool, and I'm going to be attracting buyers from out of area, and a lot of those buyers have never been to that area or down that street, and they're going to be driving past, and we want them to stop. So there is certainly going to be a big chunk of any presentation or marketing budget that you use on making that front, the facade, the garden, the pathway, or whatever, as attractive as possible, so that they actually stop their car and want to look and want to call me and say, look, Zeno, when can I come and have a look at this home? Because it's amazing from the outside. I want to come and see inside. So look,
that's awesome. So Joan,
it is
Joan,
a bit of
great
a
question.
toss.
Yeah. And great question, Joan. And I know that I think Phil, you've got something that you just want to ask Zeno as well. I know you're sitting there you're on mute if you're not too sure, but here you go.
Yeah, sorry, I had a bit of background noise, so I just thought I'd just put myself on mute there.
So those people going from Sausalito over to the main San Francisco mainland.
Once again, I've got some good notes here, Zeno, and we're only 2 Ps into the 4. So
that's right. We've got a long way to go still.
So what do you reckon? We go on to the next 2 and then come back, or is there a bit more you need to say about P number 2, presentation?
No, I think we keep going. Otherwise, we'll probably be here all night.
No worries.
Look, so the next P is process. So process is what's done to market the home. What's involved? What photography to take? What copy to write? Where to advertise? Do I do photos only? Do I do some video? Do I do social media? All these little bits and pieces that we need to decide for that particular home and to make it the best it can be in the market.
Yeah.
Auction, private sale, what time of year even. There's so much to go into in process. But what I've found generally is photographs are key, because in this day and age, there's so much that we're bombarded with on the media and social media, and we just simply don't have enough time to go through all this beautiful marketing material that you can put out. And I find that the best bang for buck is getting 2 to 3 amazing images of a home and in a certain sequence, so that when we put it out to market, even in an email, or even like if I'm texting someone, these particular photos and in a certain order will paint a picture of a home and attract that buyer to want to ask for more. Those photos are key. And so I've used all sorts of photographers, and that, like there's photographers and then there's photographers.
Yep.
You and I may not know the difference, but you know, a great photographer can turn a room into a masterpiece simply by a slight angle adjustment, or moving a table in a certain position, or moving a shelf or whatever, that will suddenly make a room pop. Yeah. Using that, and then that becomes the hero image, and suddenly you have so much more inquiry. Because last thing I want to do is put something out there, and then there's like 200 homes that a buyer has to look at on a weekend. They can only look at like half a dozen max on a Saturday. They're going to be going through and culling. And so what you don't want to do is whatever you put out there for someone to look at and say, no, it's not quite good enough, next. And literally within 1 second, they're gone. So
yeah.
So Zeno, if I want to improve the value of my home by 20% in the fastest amount of time, and photos are key, do I go and have to source my own photographer, or do I use the photographer that the real estate agent that I've chosen recommends, or what's the best way to source a photographer?
Look, you're going to have to put trust in your real estate agent. This is a big thing. You're gonna have to choose a real estate agent, and then you're gonna actually have to give them the keys, and you're gonna have to give them that trust that you've chosen the right one, and then they know what they're doing. Hopefully they have vetted photographers. They've done it long enough to know, okay, which ones to use and which angles and so forth, and how many and what order. Otherwise you could spend days, weeks looking for photographers, and trying also. Your best thing is to find someone who's doing it, who's done it, knows it, and use them.
Yeah, well, I'm looking for recommended shortest amount of time possible. So go with my agent, and we're on the go there. Yep. Anything else in the process?
Look, no, I think we'll move on, because what process can go on, and ultimately it is actually the next P, the person that's going to help. Because as you said, you need to have that trust, that you need to know that who you're choosing is going to be able to fulfill. And so the next P is the person, the agent that you're choosing to represent your home to market. So you need to be able to trust them, but you need to also understand that agents are in the business of selling homes and they don't get paid until they've sold a home, and ultimately what they want to do is sell as many as they possibly can. Your ideal scenario here is to choose an agent that you know that is going to devote the time and effort to your home, and not run around like a headless chook selling a dozen others around you.
How do you pick? So Zeno, I have a question. What are some attributes of great real estate agents? Because I hear horror stories. We put it with this agent. They said they could sell it at this price. They did the market appraisal, and then they give it 30 days, and if they don't get the sort of leads they want, they suggest we take it down. And I just hear horror stories all the time. So what are some great attributes of agents that will get the 20% increase?
Look, I think the biggest thing that I've found is working with an agent that is not overextending themselves, is hungry for your business, and prepared to devote time to your business.
How do you pick that person? What would they need to ask?
You ask them the question of what are they doing at the moment, how many homes they have on the market, what time frame are they, how much time are they devoting to their clients? It's so easy for an agent to just pick up a whole stack of listings and then only devote 10 minutes to trying to sell your home. It's just they've got to actually have a process in place that allows them the time needed to sell your home.
That's a good point. I like those two questions. What do you think, Phil? How much time you got to devote to me and my home, and how many houses have you got on the market at the moment?
That's good questions make all the difference, and this is what we've got Zeno in here for, to give us the inside scoop on what the good questions are.
The other thing I also would ask is, when an agent comes, when you're going to meet an agent, or you're interviewing an agent, ask them who is actually going to be selling the home, who's going to be on the door, who's going to be responsible for that sale. Some amazing agents out there, they are really great at convincing you to sell their home, and then have someone else actually at the door
Yeah.
you've never met before. So you've got to be confident in who they have on their team, that you're happy with that, or better to have actually the person you've spoken with that you're comfortable with and you can trust actually selling your home.
Yeah, look, I can totally vouch for that. I've sold a few homes in my life, and I found that, you get the real estate agent on, and they're there for the first open, and then after that they send the rookie, in to do the open, right? And now I'm not happy about that. So would we say, look, we want you to be at all the opens? Is that unreasonable?
No, look, certainly not. I mean, it's your asset. You're going to be paying their fee, and you've chosen them. You've chosen this person. You've connected with them. I would expect them to be negotiating on your behalf and representing your home to market, not someone else.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you're happy with that, and you've met all the other people on the team that are part of it. That's fine too. But just be comfortable with whatever that process is that they're going to be taking to market.
Awesome. Well, look, we're going to go to the Q&A, and because I know we've spoken a lot and we've gone through the 4, and I'm sure you could tell us more about these 4 issues, but we've got some questions in the Q&A. So I'm going to throw over to Phil, because Phil's going to introduce these and who's asked them. And let's get Zeno on the hotspot and answering these questions. Over to you, Phil.
No worries, Zeno. Well, Robin's quite interested in this. G'day, Robin. Thanks for joining us. Robin, she just wants to know, I've got the 4 Ps and I've got a few things that we can do. She's just saying, is there any, what specific one would give me the biggest bang for my buck? Well, I suppose that's...
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah, look, the biggest bang for buck. Look, okay, so there's a few things that you could do, biggest bang for buck. The quickest and cheapest thing you can do is decluttering your home. I was in just an apartment this morning, walked in there, looked nicely. The tenant was keeping it really well. Everything was quite neat, but there's just stuff everywhere. The tables had lots of things piled on them, the kitchen bench was full, there's boxes all over the place. What I did with my photographer today is spend about 20 minutes simply moving things out of the way, and then taking a shot, and the apartment suddenly felt a lot more spacious. That's, look, at the end of the day, nobody wants to buy a shoebox. So everyone wants to have space, the feeling of space in their home.
Yeah.
It's a very simple thing to do, to declutter and put things away nice and neatly. My rule of thumb for cupboards and wardrobe and so forth is having a 70% full maximum, having at least a little bit of leeway in there to look like there is room for someone else to pop in there and grow into. And the worst thing is if someone walks into a space and thinks that they've got to walk over eggshells because there's just so much clutter everywhere.
So, Zeno, just let me get clarity on that. Do you want the cupboards and the drawers to be 70% free, did you say, or 70%?
Yeah. No, 70% full. So 30% free.
Okay.
Yeah.
So even the drawers, so they can't
like
just clear the
120%.
clutter. They can't just clear the clutter and throw it in the wardrobe or chuck it in the drawers or anything.
Look, if you know, look, a buyer that falls in love with a house is going to look at everything, and so they're going to be opening some of the wardrobes up, and if they open up and it looks like it's going to fall over on them, then it's probably not a good thing.
Yeah.
In that case, I would, if you've got a garage and it's not overflowing, I would look at getting boxes of stuff that you don't use that often, just filling up boxes and then piling up neatly along one wall. So making a wall of storage that you just boxed everything in from the inside of the house, just put it away, hidden. Garage is usually the last thing a person looks at, and by that stage, the more often than not, they're sold on a home. So the garage is like an icing on the cake. So you know, don't worry about over piling the garage space, but making everything else as, you know, open and inviting as possible.
Great. And I have another question. I have a question from Selena, and she says, "What's the room that really sells the house? What's the one room in the house that would really you could get 20% more if they spent time on? Is it the kitchen, the bathrooms, living rooms? What is it?" Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the layout of the house. So if it's, say, a typical 3-bedroom house, open plan living, dining area, it would be the kitchen and living area that would be the best bang for buck. If you can update the kitchen, getting the bench tops nice, in the cupboards, door handles, that whole meal prep area, and then the lounge that joins it, that would be the best place to spend your money.
Yeah.
Because more often than not, that is one of the first areas that you walk into as well in a typical home. And a lot of the time, first impressions count. So if you can make that like entrance into that space amazing, you've won most of the battle, and the rest of it will be just like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to convince them a little bit here and there to buy into the rest of the house. But I've already got them a big yes from that buyer.
Yep, I got it. That's great. So thank you, Selena. Thank you, Joan, for all of that. I just want to go to the outside a little bit, the landscaping and the street appeal and that sort of stuff. You know, are they easy wins to get 20% up?
Yeah, look, it would be the facade, the entrance way to a home that will make the difference and the impact.
Yeah.
Like I said before, it's like particularly out of area buyers that you want to convince to stop and come out of their cars and walk up.
Yeah.
So the garden, getting rid of any weeds, the simple things, putting new mulch in, brand new mulch looks amazing. Like, and more often than not, I choose black mulch.
Oh.
Yep. So it makes the greenery pop. If you put coloured mulch in, then the whole thing, unless you're in the country or selling a different style of house, more often not, black mulch looks great against green. Making the grass as green as you can if you have some grass, or putting a new bit of lawn down, and then the pathway leading up to the front door. If you have to, clean the front door or paint the front door, because these are the first impressions the buyer gets. And if it looks great as they're walking up, you know, they're convincing themselves they're loving the home. And then once they're in the door, you've already got half the sale done.
Yeah. All sounds very good. It's very, very exciting. How long have you been doing this for, Zeno? And, you know, you obviously have a big passion. You know, the real estate industry, I know it's not that bad in Melbourne. It's just doesn't have as many listings as what it did this time last year. I don't think that's what the word is that I've got out there. But, you know, you obviously have a passion for this, and you know your staff. What keeps you going?
Yeah. Look, it has been a bit of a roller coaster the past 12, 18, 24 months, in fact. Since the peak in 2017, the market has been a bit of a rocky slide.
Yeah.
I know a lot of good people in this industry have struggled and actually left, because it's just the whole industry has been in a bit of a state of flux. A lot of buyers and sellers have been sitting on the fence and not knowing if they should, you know, bite the bullet and move. I don't know what it is. I've just loved real estate ever since I was a kid. I remember in high school drawing pictures of houses. In fact, when I was in primary school, I remember drawing a house in perspective. Like the tree, you know, the base of the house and the trees were all wide, and looking up it was all narrow. And I remember the teacher saying, "It's incredible to actually know."
So instead of doing your work, you were drawing houses, Zeno.
Drawing houses. And I've loved it, and I actually ended up falling into marketing, branding, design, as my first career.
Yeah.
But on the weekends, I'd be buying homes and renovating them and flipping them. So I've bought, renovated, and sold 7 homes myself.
Great.
It gives me a great understanding of how to market a home, how to put it out there, and that actually comes back to the other point, the other question that was raised. Ask the agent, whoever you choose, have they ever bought a home themselves? And have they ever sold a home themselves? If they've never done it, it makes it bloody difficult to know and appreciate what a buyer is going through when buying a home. You know, if you can have that connection and build that rapport through experience, you suddenly deals can just fall in your lap.
Yeah, look, that just goes the same with any business, really. It's all about, you've got to walk the talk. You know, business coaches have got to have had a successful business. You know, why would you trust them, you know? And it's, you know, that's the clients that I work with are all taught right in the very beginning. You got to walk the talk, because if you can't walk the talk, there's no point you trying to convince someone to use you, you know? And so, yeah, so you're doing that obviously, which is great. And do you have any locations in particular you like to work in, or you work everywhere? I mean, there's only one of you, Zeno, so I'm not too sure, you know, if you can spread yourself thinly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Look, I've worked. In fact, I just recently sold in my 73rd suburb, all across Melbourne. So I've experienced it all from the inner city, South Melbourne, all the way out to Daylesford, and the other end all the way down to Montague, and everything in between. For me, it's more about connection with the client, trust with the client. In fact, most of my clients are long-term clients, and a lot of them have multiple homes. And it just simply makes sense that if you've got a home in Hawthorne, and then you've got an investment that you need to move in Point Cook, use the same agent that you know and well and trust. And that's the model that I've built our business around. So for me, it's the home that I'm selling, or the apartment or investment I'm selling, that becomes actually my base of operations. That becomes my office. The mobile phone here, the laptop, the car, and that piece of real estate is my office. And that's why I wrap it around. That's why I think about it. It's not about, just working one little tiny patch. It's about knowing what to do for a client in an area and getting the best result. Yeah,
no, I got that. So fairly, I'll let you have a chat.
Sorry, Jones, just got another query for you there, Zeno. She's just got, is it best to book your agent? She might be on the same thinking of me. I might, whether we should just take our notes from what you've given us here and rush home and make those changes, or should we book our agent first and make changes or improvements based on their recommendations?
Yeah, good question. If you're confident about knowing where to spend your dollar in improving a home, then I would go for it yourself. This is what I've been doing myself, and but most people aren't. Most people don't, and a lot of people can get emotionally invested in their home. And you need to be able to step back and look at it like a business. You need to look at it as a business. Okay, what do I need to do? Where do I need to spend my dollar in this business to actually make a dollar back? In fact, any dollar you spend, I would want at least $2 back.
Okay.
Right. So if you're going to spend $15,000 on a kitchen, I want to be able to know that that's going to return me $30,000 extra value on my home. If it doesn't, if there's a grey area, then it's a risk of spending that 15 grand because you may not actually get it back.
Yeah, no, I get that. You know, Richard Branson in business, he always says, you know, your return on investment should be 3. You know, so if you spend $1, you know, you want to replace that dollar, and then you want the dollar for the profits, and then $1 for you.
Wow. Yeah.
It's interesting how his investment strategy works, but it obviously works because look at him, you know.
I know. Well, that's the formula that I use it's not quite as drastic as that, but it's.
I think it's great.
It's double your money, whatever you spend on a home.
Yeah. Now, I'm not sure if we touched on this before, but my question to you is, out of those top 4 things, so it's position, presentation, process, and people, is there any particular order? Would you label them in, 1, 2, 3, or 4 to increase the value of your home by 20%?
There is no order, but it basically falls in the order that we've put out, because you have to obviously buy first and have the home first. That's the position, and then you're going to think about, okay, how do I present this home? So generally that's the first 2. The other 2, process and person, it's all, they go hand in hand, because the process is a lot driven by the agent as well. So that is one thing you can do together with the agent.
Okay, excellent. Phil, have you got any questions that you want to ask Zeno? I'm not sure if there's any more in the Q&A.
No, Joan's happy with that answer, and I think what people are looking for is that bit of clarification which you've just given, Zeno, about a few things, so they know whether they're on the right track, what ones to go for first, what sort of a return should we expect, or should we be looking for, and where's the best place to get that bit of guidance and that bit of perspective. So I think you've pretty well covered a lot of that, and there's been some great info there. So
cool. Thank you, Phil. Just one thing I want to end on is it's great to talk and share information like this. It all sounds great in theory, and it's a very difficult thing to prove in practice. Do I spend the money here? Do I spend the money in styling? What do I do? And as an agent, I've asked myself that question. Have I done the right thing here and to get the best result for this home and this vendor? And I've thought, how do I know if I'm actually if what I'm doing and portraying out there is actually working? And the only real way to know is if one home hits the market and an identical home hits the market next door at the same time, and same market conditions in the same condition. And it's the only real way to know. And funny enough, the universe opened up and it did it to me.
Yeah.
Really?
I was just about to say, how unlikely would that be?
It's like 1 in a million. I mean, what's the chances? I mean, I went to market with a home, a 4-bedroom home on 544 square meters of land, typical single level, built by Metricon or Porter Davis or whatever. And then the very next day, the neighbour's house, which is an almost identical house, hit the market. Also 4 bedrooms, same size land. In fact, their ceiling heights were a little bit higher, so theirs is technically a little bit better. But we hit the market at the same time, and I used the 4 Ps with our home. So the position, it was fantastic position. So both homes are in a great location. The presentation, we went through it with the fine-tooth comb. We actually changed some wall colours, some light fittings, some of the carpets. Most of the carpets are okay, but some of them need to be replaced. And the front, the facade, the pathway, we made a few changes there. And then using amazing photography, like the best photography you could ever do.
Yeah.
Make the home look incredible. And we hit the market at the same time. Both homes sold within 3 weeks. So almost identical sale period as well. Their home, I've got it written here, their home sold for $587,000. Ours sold for $695,000.
Wow.
For nearly identical homes.
Same time, same market. Yeah.
Same everything. It's incredible.
Wow.
Now, so we spent probably about 10 to 15,000. Judging by their marketing and what they did, they probably spent maybe a couple of grand max or something. So obviously we spend a bit more, but with like if you're a betting person, you would spend 10,000 any day to get 100.
No brainer.
It's
Absolutely.
a absolute no-brainer, you know, and it makes a world of difference. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's a great result, Zeno. And, you know, I want to thank you for coming on our podcast today, being a panelist, answering some questions and sharing with us your knowledge around how to increase the value of your home by 20%. And you actually did more than that. My numbers are just a little bit off tonight and I haven't got my calculator with me, but I'm sure that house price, the first house and the second price that went was more than 20%. So good for you. And so Zeno is at Scott Banks Real Estate. Zeno, how do we get in touch with you? How can we contact you?
Look, very easy. Just hop on scottbanks.com.au.
Yep.
Or you can Google me, Zeno Kobica.
Yep.
I'll come up probably one of the first searches there. My number will be there. Just click on that. Open all the time. So
give Zeno a call if you're listening. Give Zeno a call. Let him increase the value of your home by 20% if you're in the market to sell. You want to talk to this guy. He knows his stuff. Thank you so much for being on with us. And
Thanks,
Phil, thank you again for being with us. Great input as a panelist. And also, look, what we want to do is just let everybody know every Wednesday night we're driving home talking business and from coming to you from Referrals Over Breakfast. And that is a networking group in South Melbourne and Ballarat. If you know anyone that wants some great referrals over breakfast, look us up online as well. So academy at referralsoverbreakfast.com.au. And Phil, over to you. Who's on our show next week?
Well, I have a very, very special guest next week brought to you by the RoB Academy. And it's Glenis Gassmann for more customers, more profits.
Yeah.
Wow, it's me. What am I talking about next week, Phil?
Glenis, I'm going to give you a bit of a grilling on success habits. Okay. What successful people like you do and how to implement them. I've been spying on a few been leaking out in LinkedIn, but I'm really looking forward to having a chat with you next week about success habits.
Fantastic, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you as well, Phil. So look, thank you everyone for being on the call. Thank you for the drive home. Thanks, Chris. I hope you're on your way home. Thank you, Zeno. We're going to see you all again next week, or you'll hear from us all again next week. Have a super productive week. Be successful at whatever you do. And thank you again, Zeno. Thank you for your time and all your input.
Pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome.